All right. Hello. Thank you for joining us on the Hopecast. Super excited to launch this next episode. Yesterday we were talking about the why. Today we're going to be talking about all of the growth. And the growth is always the beautiful part about business, right? Like that's what people want to hear about. That's what they want to see. That's what they want to strive for. That's what they're inspired by, which is why I put it before I talk about the struggles of things tomorrow, because each year has brought with it growth, but it has also brought with its challenges. Being a business owner, I always tell people, is not for everyone. And I'm surprised still to this day that I have been given this calling to do this myself because I just never saw myself as being a business owner. It's really fascinating to think about the growth and like going through the numbers. And I'm not going to give you guys like all of the numbers, but I am going to give you a general overview of monetary increases, also different things that we've been able to do within the company. But the struggles are going to be the hard part, and that's going to be tomorrow. So again, always ignore me if I get any sense of emotion. I also just got done with a workout, which is why I look so interesting. And we have a very interesting light coming through the office today. So I apologize about that. But I hope you all are having a fantastic day. Again, don't forget to go and subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you are considering donating to the Hope Fund or purchasing a shirt that can go to that. That is a Hope Fund that we have created in order to help those in need. We are going to be offering services to clients that are unable to get service because they either don't have health insurance and have no option, or they just generally cannot afford our services, but they need pelvic floor therapy. So we're really excited to have that launched. But let's get started on the growth. So again, in 2018, as I mentioned, is when I started my business. And so 2018, I started my business in August, and from August to December, I did reach 5 figures in cash pay. And that's important for those of you listening, because that was the ability to pay my bills. It took me some time though. So obviously I started with, it was about 6 weeks with 1 to 3 clients. I did not have a very large caseload in those first 2 months. And then after that though, because of all of the work that I had put in order to get my name out there and all of the marketing and all of the things, I was able to build my caseload to the point of being able to support myself and my husband. What that means is paying all of the bare minimum bills, right? So we pay the bare minimum, and I wasn't able to pay myself as far as like a salary or an increase goes, but we paid ourselves enough to pay the bills for the business, which overhead luckily at that time was very low. And then we were able to pay all of the things that we needed for operating costs and our housing costs and living costs. So 2018, it was pretty fair, I would say. I did go into, and we'll talk about this a lot tomorrow, but I did go into some debt in order to get coaching, so business coaching. And I say I went into debt because I utilized a credit card in order to purchase that, because at the time I had no capital and we had used all of our savings. I just didn't have the ability to purchase that out of a bank account, and so utilized a credit card. And the way that I feel about that is that I was choosing to pay that off later, which I have, which is awesome. So just wanted to share that. But in 2018, we were able to reach the 5 figures, pay all of our minimum bills. We were able to profit. So we were in the green for that, I'd say the last 2 months of the year. So the first few, we were obviously in the red. I wasn't making very much. I only had a few clients. And then after that, we were able to build it up to the green. So green being profitable. And again, we'll talk about kind of like the reds tomorrow, because every business has them. I don't care what they say. No business is profitable 100% of the time, in a sense of like always making more than break even. I broke even all 5 years, but some of those months we were not profitable. So it was just me. So I was a solopreneur in 2018 through 2019 as well. So all of the year of 2019, I was a solopreneur. So I was doing this by myself. I was hitting the ground running. I was still seeing clients in their homes. And so mobile physical therapy kept the overhead really low, so I didn't have to pay rent. But about halfway through 2019, I was able to find a space. Luckily, it was a local person that I had known, and she did not charge me to utilize that room. So that offered another option. So I did have the space. We were able to start paying myself about halfway through that year as well. So in 2019, we had extra. So the profit that was paying out the bills, and then we had more left over, we were able to actually kind of increase our savings account and pay for things we wanted and like do those kinds of things. So that was really cool. And we were able to cross 6 figures within the first couple of months of that year. So I worked really, really hard to get to that point. I was seeing probably, I'd say 18 to 22 clients a week in the year of September. Around May is when that began. But again, it was still just me. So those of you that are in business and you're growing a company, you recognize that the cost of being by yourself is a lot less than the cost of having employees and people working with you. And so we have learned so much throughout business. I don't regret any of the decisions that I've made at all. But of course, the growth has changed these last few years as we've been able to kind of expand and grow and add in clinicians and things. So that was 2019. And 2020 and 2018 and 2019, I served again just my own caseload. 2020 was when the pandemic hit, of course. We were able to upgrade our space. So we upgraded our space from where I was, tiny room, to a larger room in a space that was in a CrossFit community. So that was really fun. I was able to start paying rent there. We ended up at the end of the year making multiple six figures, and we were able to bring on our first clinician, which was Dr. Andrea. Many of you know her. And so we brought her on. Again, the pandemic required a lot of pivoting. We had to, in order to pay all of our bills, in order to keep all of our operating costs and things going, we did have to consider using credit cards again, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. Luckily in 2020 though, we did not have to go into more debt. I continued business coaching. I continued to learn how I can pivot. How can we do things online? How can we reach community without failing? And how can my brick and mortar that is present when not being able to see clients, how can we do this virtually? So I learned a ton, and that growth has now expanded into where I'm at right now, creating this podcast, learning all of these things, which leads us into 2021. My clinician stayed with me. We ended up making another hire that year. So we brought on another clinician in 2021, which did not work out. And again, that will turn into a lesson tomorrow as far as like a struggle. But for growth purposes, in 2021, I would say we were hit with needing to rebrand, needing to hire someone to do a website, needing to transition website hosts. We had a ton of attorney fees that year, not because of any trouble that we got in, but because we wanted to trademark when we rebranded and like all of these things, and because we lost the employee that we wanted to hire, etc. So all of those things were growth moments for me, because I think as a business owner, you have to learn to grow thick skin. You have to be able to deal with all of these things that are not so easy to deal with. And we were still able to increase growth in 2021 by about 200%. So that's a lot. And again, it was just me, and then it was another clinician. So both of us seeing full-time caseloads. So I was still in the business. We were bringing in quite a bit of money, multiple six figures in 2021. I was able to pay down all of my credit cards from coaching. We were able to pay down quite a bit of everything that we owed at that point. And I came out of 2021 with no debt. And again, we'll talk about debt tomorrow, because debt is a whole other conversation that I could talk about in business. I believe that there are ways to utilize it to your benefit. I believe that there are ways to leverage it without getting in trouble. But there's also ways to do it. And I've made both mistakes, where I made a mistake of utilizing credit cards that I didn't need to, and purchasing things that I didn't necessarily need in that moment. But then I've also grown in that. So my money mindset, I would say in 2021, really, really expanded. And I was really able to consider like where I wanted this whole company to go. What am I doing? What is my purpose? What is my value? What are our core values? I really dove into the background of it all. So from there, we went to last year. Also in 2021, I became pregnant in November, so that was exciting. And in 2020, we birthed our first son, and it was amazing. So I was able to step away from client care in 2020. We were able to hire 3 new employees in 2020. We let go of 2 other employees in 2020 as well. And I was able to take 8 weeks of maternity leave. We were able to pay myself for 6 of those weeks, and which is huge, by the way, for where we were. There was myself and another clinician on maternity leave at the same time. So the company was bringing in far less. Even though I had stepped away from new clients, I was still seeing a fair, consistent like caseload during that time. And what was the biggest growth moment last year was I stepped away from maternity leave to become a new mom, and my business still ran. And the clinicians that were in the business were still paid, and they were still able to have a job, and they were still functioning. And so that was a huge thing for me to recognize, that I had built systems that were going to make it sustainable, and that it would be sustainable. And so that was the biggest growth moment. We surpassed, our goal was $750,000 last year, but we did not reach that, which is, again, totally fine. Goals are not the same as an intention. And we passed $500,000 last year, and my company itself became $1 million company, meaning it has brought in a revenue of $1 million in the beginning of last year in 2022. Which is super exciting to think about, because it's just, again, like this little tiny thing I started in my car has now expanded to host or hold these clinicians and be able to serve them and their families to decrease their burnout. And then this year we have hired one more, and that, again, we've solidified our systems, we've solidified our team. We did not grow as quickly this year. I think a lot of this has to do with like inflation and just the way that the economy's going. We have another clinician that is pregnant. My son turned 1. We are able now to offer a benefits package to our employees, which is huge. And my husband, my son, and I are taking a month off and stepping away from the company completely to go to Europe. I also have not all year this year, and it is August, had to take new clients. I have seen several of my past clients that will come back and see me, but I've been seeing clients maybe 1 to 2 days a week. And it's been really cool because that gives me the opportunity to grow in other ways and recognize where my vision is. Because I believe that business owners, when you have the vision and you are living within that vision and you are in your why, you can't be replaced. Employees maybe can be replaced, but you can't replace the visionary, right? Because when you start something, and I become so addicted to this. I don't know if this relates to anyone that's a business owner listening, but like I become so addicted to the process that I'm now back in that phase where I feel like my brain is better a year postpartum. I have gotten out of that fogginess. I feel like we have solidified our systems. My core team is incredible. And we have, let me count them. We have one that is afloat. So she's actually an independent contractor that helps out when we need her to. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 employees at this time. Yeah, Katie, Andrea, yes, at this time. And ultimately, the goal is to continue growing. And we're going to talk at the end of this week, like what our plans are. But we are expanding online. We are expanding into collaborations and influencers. We are expanding into so many cool ways within the company that it's just fascinating to see the growth. But again, the biggest thing that I've seen is growth within the team members and myself, and recognizing that my mindset had to shift from being a solo practitioner to now I do have a lot more responsibility for my team, and I want to take care of them. So whatever it is that I need to do that, that's what needs to happen. And so I've been spending a lot of time just recognizing the kinks, fixing the issues, fixing the ebbs, recognizing the flows. What can I do to improve here? What can I do to change here? But the growth itself has been so amazing. And we have been able to help over, I'd say, 3,000 clients at this point. And that's just so incredible if you think about the fact that our clinicians are able to see an amount of clients that does not burn them out or make them feel the way that I did when I left corporate America. But we are also offering premium best care, hands down, in Tampa Bay to our clients. Like, it's just fascinating, the growth. And so I'm really excited about where all of this is going. I hope that you guys are enjoying this journey. Tomorrow, like I said, I'm going to be sharing a lot of the hard and the ugly tomorrow. So be prepared for that. Possibly bring some wine or coffee, whatever your thing is. But I can't wait to share it with you still. And thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends.